Hey guys, hope you're doing good. So we went over a couple things, got a little bit out of order, ahead of myself on opening a store, but information's still good. Anyway, so before you start shipping out on eBay, one of the biggest, or Amazon FBA for that matter, one of your bigger expenses, if you can get most of your shipping stuff for free. I didn't even talk about driving around looking for boxes. You can buy new boxes. I bought some eBay boxes through the eBay store with my second coupon. But if you can find, just think about places that would have good, clean boxes in your area, and you can go ask for them. I'm sure you can find some. I actually ended up, there's a Barnes & Noble not too far from me, and they have a dedicated box out back for cardboard, and they don't crush it. It's not a crush box, so you can, at least in mine. If they did have one though, I did talk to a manager there, and the manager told me they are totally fine with, it's kind of a Barnes & Noble policy. Green is better, which is great. And so they will give you, if you go in and tell them, hey, I want a bunch of boxes. And Barnes & Noble is great because they get a variety of sizes, but they are consistent and they're nice thick boxes. So I got, I picked up about 20 various sizes there the other day. So just a way to get a bunch of inexpensive boxes, or free boxes. But one expense that you're going to have that is pretty hard to get away from is you're going to need to be able to print labels. Now, me personally, I don't print packing slips yet. Once I get to the point that I'm pulling a ton of items, I may have to start. Right now, though, I pull right off my laptop and I pack. I don't print anything for shipping label or for packing slips, just because I'm cheap and I don't see a reason to do it. So, but you are going to need to be able to print shipping labels, and you're going to need to be able to print those packing slips if you want. And there's just going to be some things you need to print in general. So, if you're selling FBA, Amazon FBA is going to tell you that you need to use a laser printer. And I will tell you right now, if you don't know me from my background, I was in the printing and copier business for the majority of my working life at this point. I've been in construction as well, but I worked for Xerox for 5 years. I worked for Kyocera for 3.5. I worked for Icon. I worked for Ricoh for 5 years, and I worked for HP for 3. And then some health issues with working around toner. Don't worry if you're just using them, it's not a big deal. If you're digging into the big ones that are the size of my car, that's a different issue. But those, so coming from a printing background, this is something that I know a lot about. So a laser printer is going to be better suited for your needs in the shipping business. However, price point becomes key here because you're just starting out. It is going to benefit you to have a printer scanner. You don't really need the fax anymore, but maybe you do. I don't. But the printer, copier, and scanning options are going to be key. So, with that being said, again, laser is better because when you do the shipping labels, the way the laser printer works, just real quick, is it puts down, it's actually a dry toner on the page, and then it's going through a, they call it a fuser, which is 2 hot rolls, and it presses the toner into the page while it heats it, and it melts it into the page. So it essentially becomes one with whatever media you're on. Now, there's a couple pluses and minuses to laser printers. Black and white ones, which I'll get into in a second, are not too expensive. There's a pretty cheap option that works very well. But then again, because like I said, it's going through a heat process, you need to make sure the media you buy, especially labels, are rated for a laser printer. If you just buy, and those UPS ones I talked about they'll go through a laser printer just fine. If you go to the store though and you're just buying shipping labels, if it says it's for inkjet and it says inkjet only, and you put it in a laser printer, it will melt the labels to the fuser, and you most likely, unless you have a very high-end laser printer, it's not even worth fixing. You just blew that printer apart. So be careful of your media options when you pick a printer. So I'll put a link in the description because I don't know the model number offhand of the laser printer that I would recommend if you're starting out. There's a couple really good HP laser printers, but HP when it comes to laser is a little higher end on the price point. I actually have a website that talks nothing about printers. I'll put a link down below. It's called the HP Garage. But what I would suggest if you're going to go laser printer is there's a Brother laser printer that's only about $100. So I'll put a link in the description to that laser printer. That's the Brother. The other option to consider, which is going against what Amazon FBA says and what the post office wants you to do when you're printing labels, is a inkjet printer. Now, when you're starting out small, it's all about, being versatile and being able to use your stuff for multi-purpose. So the reason I would recommend a inkjet printer is because you can do a lot of stuff, extra stuff around the house that you might like to do and have color. And there's a really good option for that. Whereas if you want to get into a color laser jet, which ideally is the best, and overall, long term actually has a very low cost, but up front they're expensive. Probably, I should have looked at my website first, but on my website I have a list, but they're between $300 and $500 to get a good one. So the option though, and the reason that I can tell you this is right now personally, my laser printer died. I ran the crap out of it. I had that model for like 6 years. There is a very low entry point printer cost wise that works very well that I absolutely love. So that is the HP. Right now the current model is the 8710. You can get it on eBay or Amazon for around $100 shipped. It's very quick, and the reason I say to get the 8710, there's a couple models before it that are even cheaper. They're $60 or $50. The reason to get the 8710 or higher is there is a program called HP Instant Ink. So the downside to an inkjet printer is how much the ink costs. HP Instant Ink, what I do, and again, I had one of these before when I worked at HP, the model prior to this, and I ran tons of training material, I would print more than any other person using this printer under normal circumstances would print, and it never had a problem. And again, I don't work for HP anymore, but they do know their printers. So the 8710, really small desktop printer. It doesn't print 11 by 17. It does 8.5 by 11, 8.5 by 14. And the ink is called Color Lock technology. Now the Color Lock, the benefit to that is you can print on a label. The reason that the post office and Amazon wants you to use laser is if the ink gets rubbed or it gets a little bit damp. The old style lasers, it would smear, so the barcodes become unreadable. I've tested this with the ink lock. If it prints and then you let it set and dry it doesn't even have to be a ton of time. We're talking, 20, 30 seconds. So I'm printing a label. Right now I'm still using the UPS one, so I trim the edge if I need to. Then I stick it on the box or the poly mailer. When I'm rubbing it down, it doesn't smear. I've done a test where I've printed just a test pattern on a label, let it set for an hour, and then I've dropped water on it like to simulate raindrops and then rubbed it. It doesn't smear. So to me, and again, I've also sent in a ton of packages to FBA and never had them complain about labels. And I was printing all my 30 up labels on this printer. I was printing all my shipping labels on this printer. And on Amazon, you have the two parts on one page. One part is the shipping info, and the other part is Amazon's internal barcode and stuff to scan it in. Never had them say, hey, you're not using the right printer and your barcodes aren't working. So the benefit to that is buying a laser printer would be $300 or $400. Buying this inkjet color, which gives you the option to, you can buy some photo paper and print nice photos if you need to do that around the house. If you've got kids' school projects or something and you need to print some stuff that's in color, you have the color option. It's just nice to have the color option. And the benefit is HP Instant Ink. I mentioned that before. What that is, I want to say I get 200 pages a month for $5 a month. And the pages I don't use roll over. The pages, if I go over 200 a month, it just charges me in blocks of, I think it's 25 pages. But it is way cheaper than buying ink for any inkjet printer out there. So the great part about it is you buy the printer $100, you're going to pay $5 a month. If you're printing under 200 pages, it's just $5. If you're going to print 500 pages, there's this option that's, I think it's $10. The machine's hooked up to the internet. It orders ink on its own. You wait till it's empty. You swap out the cartridges. You send the old ones back to HP. It is stupid simple. It is cheap compared to buying ink, even if you buy them in bulk at Costco. I have a friend who gets wholesale ink and buys like bulk lot and expired ink. It's cheaper than buying expired ink from him. So even if you're not using it for eBay business, for what it's worth, there's a good printer for you. But for me, that's what I bought to get started with. My printer from work had died, and when I left, and then like I said, I had one of these brothers, the older model to the one I'll put in the link below, and I literally ran it. I ran it nonstop, and the fuser finally burned up on it, which, with a little bit of technical know-how, the great thing about those brothers is you could run it. If you buy one of those, you're going to run it. Even if you were doing full time, cranking out, shipping, let's say 20 items a day, that brother printer's probably going to last you 3 to 5 years minimum before it needs anything other than consumables, toner, and developer. And those are fairly inexpensive. The first thing that'll probably die is the fuser, which you buy the fuser in a maintenance kit. I think they're about $38, $48. Pop them in, you're good to go again. Or again, the printer was only $100. Maybe you just buy a new printer. It's up to you. So, LaserJet versus inkjet. If you only need black and white, you want to have no fuss, no muss about worrying if your labels are going to smear, whatever. This brother's the way to go. If you're wanting to print some color, then unless you want to spend $300 or $400, which is up to you, I'll put a link to my website. Go there. There's some comparisons on printers. Otherwise, a little bit of color, not an issue with any type of printing so far for me, and I've used it a ton. And you get set consumables cost. All you gotta buy is paper and labels. Is that HP 8710? So that'll be a link below as well. So remember, if you use the links, doesn't cost you any more. I'm gonna put Amazon links in there just because I am an Amazon affiliate, so I do get a little bit of a commission if you buy them there. But it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it helps support the channel. The website has some Amazon links as well. Again, like I said, my industry was printers, and all the way up to the big DesignJet printers and HP laptops and desktops. So there's some information there if you're interested in that and you want to check out the website. That'll be in the link below as well. So if you're liking this content, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe so you can see what comes out next. My tablet screen just went dark, so I'm not sure what I had on my agenda for the next one. And we will talk to you then. Have a great one, guys.